Okay, welcome back. So here we are. We are going to implement our save and load and pick up right where we left off in the previous video, where we're going to go into our script and we're going to add the functionality that we want to continue to have our story populate based upon loading our state. But while we're here, we also want to make sure that when we're clicking this button load, that we're actually going to load, we don't want to basically return a null value and have this thing entirely break. Because if you have this on the screen the entire time and you haven't loaded a save file in here, or if you've kind of dumped the save file or anything like that, or overwritten it in some way, you want to make sure that if in fact this thing actually exists, right? So what we're going to do is that we're going to check to make sure that this file is here. And to do that, we're going to use the file access functionality. So we're going to say if file access file exists, and we're going to look for that res file here. Saves, save.save. So if that file exists, then go ahead and implement this stuff. But again, we want to make sure that we're clearing the current buttons that are being instantiated in our choice container, and also erase all of the choices that are choice indices, I should say, that are stored within our button array. And I'm just coming up here to show you, right? So we want to clear that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and say, right, underneath this ink player, I'm going to say for child in choice container dot get children. So for every child that's listed in there, child queue free, to basically get rid of any child that's there before I continue the story. So what this is going to do is that it's going to remove any of those choice buttons that we have. And then we can also, if we want to be really fancy, we can say btn, right, erase child, something like that. Again, the same kind of functionality that we had done previously when we selected our choice. So we said get rid of that button. That button is loaded in here, so we're getting rid of those. Okay, cool. So very similar syntax. So let's go ahead and see what that does. So we'll save. I'll go ahead and click save here. Great, continued. Well, now let's load. Okay, so now we have the correct indices, right? But we still don't have the correct initial text that's at the top here. And what I'm going to do for that, one kind of quick and simple way, and a way that potentially reinforces our saving and loading techniques that we have here, is to write another save file and then load the text of that save file as a string into my dialog label that I have here. So let's do that when we click on the save, and then subsequently do that when we click on our load. So for now, I'm going to comment out our print statement here because we don't need it anymore. And I'm going to say var file equals file access dot open. And I'm going to open a new file here. So I'll say res saves, and then I'll say maybe dialog text dot save. And then I need to pass a second argument here, which it's prompting me to do, and I'm going to say I'm going to want to write to that file. And then I'm going to say the file, store string, and I'm going to get the dialog.text, right? So again, this is just the node that is my dialog here, and this is getting the current text, right, in that label. And so I'm storing that, and then I'm going to go ahead and say file close, so that nothing else gets written to that when I press that. All right, so now I'm going to load this text into that dialog. So outside of my for loop, I'm going to say kind of the opposite, but use the very similar terminology here. File file access dot open, and then I'll go to res saves dialog text dot save. And then I will say file access dot read. Okay, and I'm going to basically just do the opposite that I have here. I'm going to say the color rect dialog dot text is equal to file get as text. And what that will do is that it will just print the information of the whatever is being stored in that document, whatever is being stored in this dialog text.save file, and it will print it out as text or as a string that then can be parsed into the dialog. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. So let's see. I'll go from here. Let's say I'll save this from here. I'll go excellent, continue, I hear you, and then I'll load. And then I get my text here, and I get my choices here. And then I continue where I left off. I can overwrite this file, and then I can load from where I was. Great, so let's stop this really quickly and refresh what we've done. So I made these two buttons, save and load, and when I press these buttons, I call the save state to path method of our ink player. And then I open up a new file and save the string information of whatever is currently in my dialog box. And then in my onload, I go ahead and kind of dump that back into the story wherever I have it. So again, this type of functionality might seem a bit impractical right now because our story is relatively short and not much as information is going on here. But I found that if I was working on a game or a project or a visual novel that had, let's say, 10,000 lines of dialogue or something like that, being able to allow the player or give the player some flexibility to decide if they wanted to play the game in multiple sittings or not is a really helpful resource. Another thing just to kind of wrap up or close out what I wanted to show you is that that save file persists, right? So even if I'm here, I've already written that save file. So if I continue going forward and I load that, it will go to that point at the point of where I last saved. So again, that's just something to be aware of. If you have saved the project and you want to load that, you probably want to load that outside of the actual gameplay itself. I think that that makes a lot of sense. That way, then at least you can kind of load up that information wherever it might be presented within your game. All right, hope this was helpful. Hopefully I'll be talking to everybody soon and doing some more tutorial videos to show you other functionality that you might be interested in. And if you want to leave me a comment below and ask me what you'd be interested in seeing me try to work through and prototype, I'd be more than happy in taking recommendations. I promise I'll try to get to them as quickly as I can. All right, thanks a lot. Thanks for tuning in. Hope this was helpful. Take care.